Genesis 19, verse 1. Now there came 2 angels to Sodom in the evening as Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. He said, Now behold, my lords, please turn aside into your servant's house, spend the night, wash your feet, then you may rise early, go on your way. They said, however, No, but we shall spend the night in the square. Yet he urged them strongly, so they turned aside to him. They entered his house and prepared a feast for them and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Now it goes on. Look at verse 15. Verse 15. And then when the morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, Up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be swept away in the punishment of the city. But he hesitated, so the men seized his hand and the hand of his wife and the hand of his 2 daughters, for the compassion of the Lord was upon him, and they brought him out and put him outside the city. Now, this is a story of really the first angelic escape. The angels were sent to bring Lot and his family out of Sodom, ultimately, if they found no righteous people. Angels have been involved throughout the Bible in escapes. I know a man, when I was in Brazil, I met a man named Samuel Doctorian. He's an Armenian minister, an old man, and he ministers all over the world, and he was ministering in the Middle East among an Arab nation. Very dangerous place. He said in the middle of the night, he woke up, he said he saw an angel. He said, get out of the city. And he did, and his life was saved. His life was spared. He goes all over the world. The fact is, in the Bible, this happens again and again. Comes into dreams. An angel tells Joseph, get up, get out, get out. Angels are sent for escapes very often. Kind of like angelic SWAT teams. They come into the situation, get them out, free the hostages. And so now we want to get to where we were in the book of Acts, and that is because we are now looking at something that we looked at before. We went over it for the first time. It's going to show an angelic escape. And we're going to look at it in a different way to give you keys and power and wisdom for your life. And that from learning from the angels, open up to the book of Acts, to the angelic prison break that we looked over once before with Peter. Yeah, Peter. Acts 12. And there's going to be some important things, very practical things for your life that are going to come out of God's Word here. Acts chapter 12. You see, in Hebrew, the word for angel is malach. Malach, try it. In Greek, it's angelos, and that's where we get the word angel from. And both those words are not only used of celestial beings, they are used also of people, strangely enough. In the Old Testament, Haggai is called a malach, an angel. I mean, he was a person, but it means one sent by God. Sent, like on a mission from God. And in the New Testament, John is given a messenger. When it talks about the messenger of the Lord, that word is angel as well. And that's also the last book of the Old Testament, Malachi. Malachi means my messenger or my angel. And so the word angel is not only spoken of those, the beings with wings or without wings, depending on which creature, but it is also used of God's people. If you are sent by God, if you are on a mission from God, you are in a sense an angel because you are a messenger. That same word is angel of God. And so we can learn a lot from angels in our lives. We should live a little bit more like angels. And I don't mean like, little angel, like a harmless being, because angels were never harmless. But the thing is that angels plan prison breaks. Now, last time when we looked at this, we looked at it from the perspective of Peter. But now we're looking at it from the perspective of the angel. Because the angel had a job and you have a job. You see, so often we are so concerned with ourselves and our own needs and our own, I want this and this change. And God says, I don't want you so wrapped up in it. Are you saved or not? If you're saved, your main concern should not be yourself anymore. That was taken care of. That will be taken care of. That's taken care of. Your part is to be able to be free to bless other people. And the strange thing is, when you get outside your own needs and all my own problems, and hey, I'm here to bless other people, the strange thing happens is that your problems start receding. I'm not saying that everything changes, but the point is sometimes, it'll happen just like that. Things look, give and you shall be given. Bless people shall be blessed. Help them with their problems, your problems shall be helped. But not only that, but also the more you're concerned about other people and to bless people, the more, it's not a drag, it's you're living in abundance in your heart. And you're living in the answer. You're to be part of the answer. When you're part of the answer, the problems are not so much a big thing anymore. You're problem-oriented or answer-oriented. If we are of the gospel, we are answer-oriented. We've got the answer. And the sooner we get into the idea of, Lord, how can I bless others? I'm okay. How can I bless others? The more blessed you're going to be. We are to plan prison breaks. When years ago, was doing a Bible study, somebody came across a Jewish believer. I think this person had called the 700 Club. Well, they said they were Jewish. They called the 700 Club, and they had asked, and so somehow the 700 Club contacted us and said, can you help this person, a Jewish person who's in jail? But it said he came to the Lord, and he spoke of, Yeshua, Jesus coming into his life, and he needed bail. He had no money. We didn't know if we should. There's a time limit on it. We were praying. We're back and forth. We didn't know. Finally, we said, okay. We raised money, several $100s, presented to the judge. The judge said, I don't know. All right. I'm letting, He went free. He got out of jail. The guy was a con man. We prayed him out. We gave him money to get out. I'm not saying God, we learned things from it. Somebody, the thing is that, but somebody said, if you're not upfront with God, you're going to end up right back. And that's what happened. We learned this lesson. Now, we still did it for God. We still did it with a good heart. But there's wisdom. The point is not necessarily to get people out of those prisons, or to get people always out of every situation. The point is to get people out of more important prisons. Get people out of other prisons, because this world is filled with prisons. Unfortunately, many believers are in prisons. But this one is to help you. There are people in your life. There are people in your life you wish would change, and sometimes it could just be you, but sometimes it's the Lord that people need to get saved. People need to get out of that. We are here to be prison breakers, this message is going to apply. It's from the angels, but it's going to apply to your family. It's going to apply it to your children, to your husband, to your wife, to the people who need to be saved, your co-workers, people across the world going to missions. There are people all around you. Now, so the emphasis now is, how do you effectively be part of God's redemption in your world, in your life, in your family? Because there are many ways to do it ineffectively. And you know many of them already. But there are only a few ways to do it effectively. You have the job by God to do this. So we're going to look at Acts 12 now from a whole different angle, from the angle of the angel. And from that, there are going to be keys. And even if you just take one key from this, there are going to be many keys. If you take one key and you start applying it, God will bless it. Because this is God's word. Acts 12, verse 3. When he saw that it pleased the Jews, he proceeded to arrest Peter also. It was during the days of Passover, the unleavened bread, matzah. Verse 4. When he seized him, he put him into prison, delivering him to the 4 squads of soldiers to guard him, intending after the Passover to bring him before the people. Now, he's probably put into the Antonia prison in Jerusalem. So here he is in jail, and he is under a sentence of death. Now, the first key of an angelic prison break, and this is called Angels and Outlaws, dealing with the outlaws in your life, is that there is a person in your life, probably several people in your life, who are in a prison. In a prison, and it's not okay. It's not okay. If you just accept it, that's the way it is, that's the way it'll always be, you will be part of the problem. Because you're just confirming it. You treat them as if they're always going to be in prison. You accept that they're always in prison. You've accepted that, and you're part of the problem. The first thing is, it's not okay. People who are not saved, it's not okay. It's not okay for someone to be in that situation and to be heading away from God forever. If you just see the person as that kind of person, you've written them off, even though you don't say that, but that's what's happened. Now you say, well, You know, in Hebrew, there's a little secret. In Hebrew, you don't say the adjective first, usually. Like, for instance, in Hebrew, you won't say the White House. You'll say the house white, or the house the white. Ruach HaKodesh. It doesn't say the Holy Spirit. It's the Spirit the Holy. So it's a cool thing if we apply this, because, you know, there are a lot of people we say in our life, you know, this is a rotten person. But in Hebrew, you don't say that. It's not a rotten person. It's a person rotten. First, they're a person. Then you deal with the rottenness. You know, this is a bitter person. Oh, then that's it. No. They're a person, and then you got the bitterness. You understand? You got to separate, because that's why Jesus died. To separate those things. And the first thing is that we have to separate that in faith in God. This is a person, and then secondly, you have the sin to deal with. But the person was not made to be a sinner. The person was not made to be bitter. The person was not made to be in bondage or an alcoholic or a drug addict. The person was not made. They're a person who got into that or that happened because of the nature. But that's not the ultimate plan. That's not ultimate God's hope and will for their life. See that person, if you reverse it, it's a person. It's not a bitter person. It's a person who is in a prison of bitterness. It's a person who's in a prison of selfishness. It's a person who's in a prison of even if it's their own making. We're not taking away the fact sin is sin. That's the whole point. But they're in a prison as well. The Lord came to set us free. The only way He can set us free is to separate us from that. We need to do the same thing. You look at that person, stop looking at, okay, you know, because you write them out. We write them off. If this is what they are, that's what they are, that's what they'll be, that's it. But if they are a person who can be redeemed from that, God doesn't want them to. God has another plan where they're not going to be like that if they say yes to God. You need to believe. And you need to say it's not okay, and you need to see them in their prison. You need to see the prison, see them in the prison so you can separate them from the prison by God's power. Number 2, realize it's your mission. At one point, there had to be an angel from heaven who had to realize it was his mission to rescue this one, Peter here, other times for Paul. If he did not, Peter would have been killed. But at one point he said, well, this is my job, and this is what I got to do. Well, if you are born again, you have a job, you are called, it is your job to be a light to the world. It's your job for that person. Remember Mission Impossible? They would just take that. You know, the tape recorder, you know, the beginning, they have a picture. You'd see, they open up the package, picture. The tape recorder would go on. You know, describe the whole person. This is your mission. You know, and if you choose to accept, you know, et cetera, this tape will self-destruct and the whole thing burned up at the end. But the mission that we have is more real than that. That's what we are to be. God has called us on missions. We don't think of ourselves like that, but that's it. You got a mission to that person. That person in your life, you are the one. In their life. You are the one in their world to be an angel to them. It's your responsibility. It's our responsibility. Not that it's our responsibility for what they say or what their decision. That's their decision. But it's our responsibility to do what we have to do. Verse 5. So Peter was kept in the prison. But prayer for him was made fervently by the church to God. Third angelic prison break secret. Prayer. Fervent prayer. Prison break requires miracles. Miracles require prayer. Now, I mean, God can do it without, but He always does it. He does things with. And so prayer is important. Rosario said last week, said, you know, prayer, crucial. Are you praying for that person? Are you praying for that person you want to change? I'm not just speaking about the lost people. I'm speaking about people who are in things that they shouldn't be into, things that you know you want to help them. Are you praying for them before you complain about it? Or you discourage about it? Are you continually praying for it and believing as you pray? You know? It's amazing how much time we spend doing things without prayer and how much energy we waste because God would have cut through the whole thing. Not just pray, but fervent prayer, meaning don't give up. Don't give up. Fervent. Don't give up. And do you think it looked like Peter was going to get out? It looked like Peter was dead. And why not? There were other ones who had been killed. Stephen, you know, in the book of Acts, they were killed. So the thing is that they were praying, but it probably took a lot for them to believe or just to try to keep the Lord release them. It looked like gloom. He was going to be dead. But they kept praying, even when it's hard. Don't give up. Don't give up on them. Mother's prayers mean so much. There's so many testimonies. You know, people come back after all sorts of stuff. They come back. They're 50 years old, but it was their mother kept praying for them.